Burkina Faso has released 11 pilots and crew members of the Nigerian Air Force after their detention for landing in the West African neighboring country. The release followed intensive diplomatic efforts by the Nigerian government, led by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Yusuf Tuga. This incident coincides with the successful confirmation of ambassadors by the Nigerian Senate, paving the way for their posting to their respective foreign posts. Joining us to review the release and what it means for Nigeria's influence in the region is Professor Femi Otubanjo, a research professor at the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs. Good morning, Prof, and thank you for joining us on the morning show.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Well, Prof, two issues here. The first, the bar and go endorsement of the 68 nominees of the president for ambassadorial posting. Well, what's your assessment of the whole of that process and what some people consider, a less than rigorous, serious process, and what the likely outcome will be? Because I've pointed out that this is not the end. The receiving host countries will still have to give an agreement, and we have no control over that. We have no control even over the timeline, which could take as much as 7 months. And then, of course, our issue with the Alliance of Sahelian States, AES, in Burkina Faso, where our men were detained, our aircraft was also detained, and perhaps whether that was a triumph of diplomacy or not, and what are the remaining gray areas that you think we need to pay attention to?
Thank you very much, Dr. Abati.
Go ahead, sir. Yes, sir. Hello, sir.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Abati. Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, please go ahead, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Well, on the matter of ambassadorial nominees, I try to be a bit cautious about assessments and judgment because of what you expect in an ideal organizational setting is not what you get in a political setting. A great deal of compromises, of back room negotiations go into the approval of nominees. Those who are nominated to try to get in touch with their own representatives or Senate members who then try to level the grounds for them. So it is not always a very thorough process. It is not always a very thorough process. So whether that affects the quality of the outputs, I'm not so sure. The problem is, what do we want? What do we want to see? Most people simply pass judgment without having the basic parameters for what they're talking about. I'm not a member of the House. Sometimes I'm not happy with what they're doing, but in the circumstance, you have to look at circumstances, the context of what they are doing before you pass judgment. It's a compromise context already. It's a political environment. It is not a corporate environment, and therefore there will be a lot of compromises.
But I asked about Burkina Faso.
Well, the Burkina Faso problem seems to me like a storm in a teapot. One can understand the Burkina Faso's security paranoia. The coup in the Republic of Benin took place on the 7th of December. That plane landed in Burkina Faso on the 8th, the following day. And given the level of animosity between Nigeria and Burkina Faso, it is understandable that they took such a drastic action as seizing the plane and the crew. Since the AES the Niger coup and Nigeria's threat to invade the country and restore constitutional governance, the AES countries have alienated themselves from the rest of ECOWAS. And so this is a continuation. That issue of the plate is a demonstration of that alienation. And I'm happy that it's been resolved diplomatically. Nigeria handled it very maturely, very, very carefully, and sent his ambassador, his minister, and everything was resolved. But it just shows that the AES countries are not happy with Nigeria. It also shows that they were suspicious of the movement of the plane. Although it's a cargo plane, it's a C-130. I'm not sure that Nigeria has the sophistication to pack a C-130 with intelligence gathering gadgets. I don't know whether they have one like that, but it is a possibility. And so the Burkinas have a right to be suspicious, but it was supposed to be an emergency landing. And emergency landings are regarded as humanitarian affairs, so they should have treated it like that. But given the history of hostility since they moved out of ECOWAS, one can understand why they decided to treat it as a security matter, not as a political matter. But I'm sure with the intervention of the minister and his delegation, our understanding with Burkina Faso will have improved significantly. And if any such things happen in the future, it will be treated differently.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much, Prof. Now, let me ask you let me go back to the question on the ambassadors. Yes, there might have been some controversies, yes, political play here and there, but now they've been confirmed. It's time for the hard work, as has been said. How can we, based on these appointments, begin to re-engage our, as a country on the international scene? What are some of the things that you would be expecting from these ambassadors? Some come with, expertise in this area. Others come with political sagacity, if I can put it that way. What are some of the expectations from these ambassadors? How can we begin to take our place on the world stage, engage again with our countries on the West African region, look at countries like the United States of America, our position on the UN Council, especially as we're agitating for a permanent seat on the US Security Council?
Yeah, well, I think that ambassadors are important, particularly in certain cities, certain capitals, like the US, Russia, China. There are important capitals, Bonn, and so on. In others, they are just routine administrators, just doing the routine work of pushing Nigeria's interest. Ambassadors are very important because they have access. They have access to governments there, unlike the civil servants who are charged affairs when there are no ambassadors. They do not have easy access. So, but these ones should be able to phone the minister and say, I want to come and see you, or can you get me to see the president, and so on. So, ambassadors are useful, and I hope that they will be able to promote Nigeria's interests effectively. What you find, as in all situations, that you have how many, 50 to 60 ambassadors, there will be good ones, there will be mediocre ones, there will be very excellent ones. You can never really guarantee what they will do. But the important thing is to have appointed people who have some basic administrative background, who have experience of governance, and who can adjust, because being an ambassador is a different ballgame. It's not just being a civil servant. You have to learn all the graces of diplomacy, all the language of diplomacy, so on. You have to attend many cocktails, and simply take every opportunity to push the country's interests. So from just looking at the list, you cannot say much about what they will do. I mean, there are smart people there, and there are people that you do not know. Hopefully, will live up to the job and do a good job in terms of area. Particularly interested in who goes to Washington, who goes to the United Nations, Britain, and all those countries that have significant influence in world politics. Not other countries. There are other countries that are just routine. But we hope that they will live up to expectation and do what they're expected to do.
Okay, Prof. Yes, there are mix in the ambassadorial list. In fact, there are some that they've never done anything tangible in their entire lives. They've just probably frolicked around politicians, lived from heart to mouth and surrogates here and there. We know them. So this is the kind of country we live in. If you ask them what's the the locals of their career path, nothing tangible. But we know it's Nigeria. It's the worst of us that leads the best of us. Chinua Achebe said back in the days, our 5th 11. Today is our 100th 11 that is leading the rest of us. But Prof, has there been any, for historical context, has there been any time that any nation state has reneged or refused an agreement on any ambassador sent there? Maybe in any, institutional memory you have. Has there been any time? That's the first question. And Prof, sir, you called Nigerian troops being detained in a foreign land for 10 days, a storm in a teacup, so much so that the military authorities, the Air Force first lied to us in their press statements that nothing of such happened, that they are in good health, until we now finally discovered that they were actually detained in very terrible conditions by Burkina Faso, which is a big form of aggression. Our own national troops. Or it took the foreign minister to now go there with about 25 people to bring them back home. I mean, Ayo, please correct me if I'm wrong. You said they are not even back home yet.
No, they're not. They said they had technical issues with the flight, which was the initial.
With the flight,
yes,
so they are not even back home. So you call that kind of incident a storm in a teacup? Prof, sir, expatiate, sir.
It is.
Okay.
It is a storm. It was not going to lead anywhere except to be resolved. Was it going to lead to war? Was it going to lead to any violence? No. It's a routine. It's a routine international engagement. Burkina Faso want to flex its sovereignty, and there was not what you call detention. That they have to be kept somewhere, and until the matter was resolved. They were worried that a Nigerian plane, a day after intervening in the Republic of Benin, shows up in their second largest city airport. And therefore, and of course, this is a country that had threatened before to invade countries with military regimes. So what I meant was not to, it was just an exaggeration. That was not important. It was not a crisis. It was not a crisis. It was a conflict of some sort. It was not as serious as we want to give it. It is part of the fact that the soldiers were involved.
To their family members, it was not it was more than a crisis to their family members. So because at some point there was no communication.
That's to their family members. I'm talking of the national. I'm talking of every situation has micro and macro consequences. To their family members, it's a major thing. If your family member goes out to work and it doesn't come back, that's a major thing for the family. But for the nation, it's not seriously significant. But don't let us quibble about how important the matter was. But it was a matter that was easily susceptible to resolution. And that resolved. They were just telling us, we are here, we are not a vassal state of Nigeria. You can't just land in our country. And you don't like us, and we don't like you too. So we will show that we are sovereign. And they have shown it.
Okay.
But they were not going to go beyond that, quite honestly.
Okay, Prof. A number of international issues in recent times. Republic of Benin, Burkina Faso, ambassadorial postings. But beneath all of this, now, don't you think the time has come now for us to take a second look at our foreign policy process? Because we seem to be, doing foreign policy, international relations on an ad hoc, convenient basis. Some of the major players don't even have institutional memory. Now, if you agree with the idea of reform in terms of Nigeria's foreign policy process, what would you say should be the main priorities in that direction?
Well, I'm not so sure that I see the point you're making in terms of ad hoc. No.
No, I'm talking about foreign policy reform, generally.
Yes.
What do you think should be
When
the target points?
Policy for... when you're talking of reforms of your policy, you can either talk of the policies themselves, the formulation as process, or you can talk of foreign policy implementation, implementation and administration. So in terms of administration of foreign policy, you have the embassies, you have the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Implementation, you have the executive, and so on. And really, right now, I'm not so sure there's anything fundamentally wrong.
Okay, let me rephrase it. Let me rephrase
occasional...
it, Let me rephrase it, Prof.
Okay.
Let's cut through the chase.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, this, is subject of concern. For example, we are told that Africa is at the centerpiece of Nigeria's foreign policy process. We do so much for these African countries. We have a Father Christmas foreign policy process. We don't get anything from it. Instead, we get insulted on the long run by these African countries. Is it not about time that we shift emphasis? I know over the years there's been something about citizen-centered, investment-centered. Even those ones too are not working. Hello, sir. Did you hear me, sir?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Well, it went off at a point. It went off. Yes. Yeah. Yes. But let me say, Dr. Abati, that there's a little bit of exaggeration about we are not getting anything from these people. You see, if you do not have the capacity to take advantage of your opportunities, it has nothing to do with those countries. Nigerian businessmen are traders. They are not looking for a long-term investment. If you have investment in mining and so on in Liberia, in Sierra Leone, and you are not taking advantage of it, it is not government. It's not the government that will go and follow up. Government can help you if you go in there. After all, Dangote has cement factories all over Africa. So, and nobody is against him there. They welcome his investment. The Access Bank and all these banks are investing in Kenya and all those places. I think it's exaggerated to say that we are not getting anything and that Nigeria is scorned, But also, let me say that without announcing it, Nigeria has shifted a little bit towards a West African-centered foreign policy. Because that is where the problem is. The Sahel is a major threat to us. And so we seem to be paying attention to it. And our foreign policy, as you can see from what just happened in Burkina Faso, is working, it's effective. The minister went there and sorted out the problem. And that's the only way you can access a foreign policy administration. There's no doubt that there's need for reform occasionally. You have to look at what you are doing. And even at the end of every year, you have to be able to access what had gone before and then see whether there will always be need for adjustment. There will be need for adjustment in terms of implementation strategies, even in terms of the policy itself, in terms of the personnel that are implementing, and so on. So, but I'm not so sure that there's a fundamental problem with Nigeria's foreign policy so far as I can see it. The Tinubu government has just introduced what they call the 4Ds. One of it is what they have implemented, democracy. Democracy as a major instrument of Nigeria's foreign policy was demonstrated by intervention in the Republic of Benin. They are using development is a major focus, demography is a major focus, and then diaspora. So we are just implementing those principles, and hopefully they will work, and if they don't work, they will be reformed.
Thank you very much, Professor Femi Otubanjo, for joining us on The Morning Show.